In this video, we're going to focus on how we can create this nice bar with a large scale space here. As you can see here, it will be nicely centered here. We make these dotted lines here. We will customize it. We have this solid line here, and at the bottom, we have the text here, and of course, a proper centered title. So let's start to look how we can do this. So let's start to look how to create the large space scale for bar chart in Chart.js. First thing what we need is we need to get the default code, which is on chartjs3.com, getting started, and this link is as well in the description box. So once you're on this site, just copy this chunk of code here. Copy that. And if you want to understand what this code does, make sure you watch this video here that explains it all. So then I'll paste that in there, and once I did that, I'll cut out this title, put the title in here. Save that, but also I will just expand my bar chart. Save, refresh, there we are. So the first thing what we're going to do is we're going to convert this into a horizontal bar chart. So I'm going to scroll down here, and I'm going to say here in the options, which is index axis, and then this here will be based on the Y. So we swap the X with the Y, and the moment we do that, there we are. Alright, that's number one. So we've done that. What I will do is I will remove all of these colors here. We don't need all of them. I'll only have one single color that would look a bit more professional. Save this and refresh. So now we have this here. So what we need to do eventually is we want to have a lot of space here on the scale area. Put in here is long text. And what we want to do as well is we want to have these dotted lines here. But of course, this should be somewhere halfway through. So what I'm going to do here is let's put in some additional space here. So in this case, I'll just say here in the options, we're going to say here layout. And the layout, we're going to give here padding. Left, there will be left padding, and let's say 150 pixels, or you can give it a bit lower depending on how big your screen size is. If you have a larger screen, will make more sense, but of course, just look at your case. So here, maybe I will just make this 250. There we are. Alright, so that looks quite decent, and I want to put eventually the text here. But that will not work with this. This doesn't allow us to control the text to the left and the right. Or at least not that I know of. So what I need to do is I need to basically remove this text. And basically we have to probably remove here this item. We need to remove that. And then we're going to put in here text. Well, that will be later on. So let's start to look at, first of all, let's scroll down here. We have the scale. So this is all fine. And then probably here what I can do, maybe we can just remove that immediately. So I'm going to say here the ticks. I'm going to say here display set to false. Save that, refresh. Alright, now the ticks are gone. And what I will do as well is we can do also the X scale. We're going to remove the ticks as well in there. The ticks, and then display false. Save, refresh. Alright, so that looks quite nice. Maybe these tick marks can be removed, but that's alright for now. Or maybe let's do that one as well. Let's say comma here and let's say grid. And here display false. Then let's copy this. And we're going to do here comma this, save, refresh. Alright, so that looks quite nice. I guess this is very acceptable. And then maybe here draw border, we can remove that one on the X scale. So we're going to say here comma, and then maybe here, or if I'm not mistaken, it should be here draw border false equals false, save, refresh. So now the border at the bottom has been removed. So then later on we will draw our own lines here. So you can see here this scale here, I guess, or sorry, this legend. We can remove the legend basically, and we will just put in a title here. This title will not be fully centered, but then I will accept that one. But I will show you eventually how you can center it by drawing your own title. But I do like this because it gives us some space here at the top, although we can also do it with the padding here. So let me show you. You could do, say, padding top, make this 150. If I do this, save, refresh, you get additional space. Now in this case, I will accept the easy way on here. So what I'm going to do here is after the skills, there we are, comma, I'm going to say plugins. Then I'm going to say here, first of all, I'm going to say legend. Then say display false, removing the legend. Next, what I want to do, comma here, and I'm going to say here title display equals true, because the title will not be shown by default. And then the text, this can be, let's say sales items. I don't know, it can be anything. I got an email based on the design, so that's why I'm just making it as it is. So you can see here, but we want space here. This is not in the center. So we can draw that in the center. I will show you later on how. But what we can do here is we can make here a quick trick. And if you don't want this like this, by the way, if you do this, what happened is basically we're breaking it, putting like an additional item in here. So if I refresh it, you can see it pushes it down. So if you don't like this, or you're going to use it here, then in that case, this title could be just removed. You don't need even this title at all. You can just say here top 150 pixels, or let's say 50 pixels should be more than enough. And I realized maybe I will do that one because that probably would look a bit more neat. Alright, so we have this here, but later on we will have some numbers at the end here. So I don't want to have like this here, because this hits the exact very end of our chart area. So what I'm going to do here is in the X scale, I'm going to say enter, and I'm going to say here grace, which gives us additional space, and just put in here 1. If I save this, refresh, what will happen now, it will hit an additional tick with it, and that tick gives us all the extra space we need. Alright, because later on we can put percentage here, or the data label. So now we have that one. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to customize this chart, and we have to do a lot of customization. So what we're going to look here is I'm going to look for the options bracket here. Scroll down here, you can see that's this one here. So put a comma here, and then I'm going to say plugins. And I'm going to put in an array, and this plugin will be called, well, what we can say here is maybe custom design. I have no better name for it, or custom chart. It's not really a custom chart, it's just some additional lines on it. So I'm going to copy that array constant. Then I'm going to say here constant this, and then what I can do here is this plugin block. So we have that nicely defined. This equals here, and then I'm going to say here when would we like to draw it. We're going to say here before data sets draw. So we will add these scale lines and text before we draw the data set. So then we have here the arguments, chart, args, and plugin options. And then we have this one here. And then what I'm going to do here is an object destructuring. If you want to understand what is object destructuring, I'm going to recommend you to look in my description, the video, understanding object destructuring. So I'm going to go here quite fast. So I'm going to say constant bracket equals chart, which is the object above. And then I'm going to say your Ctx for drawing. I'm going to say your chart area. And in the chart area, I'm going to say the top, bottom, left, right, width, and height. And then what we can do here more, another comma, I'm going to say the scales, and I'm going to say here X and Y. So we might need some more, but we'll see later on. And we might not use all of these values, but they are very useful for us. So now we have this. So what I want to do next is the first thing that's basically important for us is the amount of ticks we have. We want to draw these new tick lines, but we need to know how many ticks we have, because we already know now, based on this, the height, what the height is of the chart area. So that will be the first item we want to draw here. The ticks from left to the right, and basically from beginning all the way to the end, or at least for this one. But for that one here will be a dotted line. So let's do the dotted line first. So what I'm going to say here, we're going to say here Ctx dot save, and then once we do that, we're going to say / dotted line, and we're going to say here Ctx dot begin to make sure that begin path, to make sure that nothing is connected to this line. It's just a fresh new line. Now I'm going to say Ctx dot stroke style to indicate what is the design, and I'm going to use the default Chartjs grid line color, which is RGBA 102, 102, 102, comma 0.5 or something like that. So then what what I want to make sure this is a dotted line. So I'm going to say a Ctx dot set line dash. So this here creates a dotted line, and then the first value will say 6 and the second value will be 6. What that means is the first value would be 6 pixels of visibility of visible line and then 6 pixels of white space. Later on we can play around with that. So once we have this, what I want to do next is basically define the starting point here. So the starting point will be this place here to there. Or sorry, not even on this one, but from here to there and all the way, but we will skip the lower one and the upper one. So to do this, what is very important is we need to know how many ticks we have. Well, basically, if we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bars, it will mean we have 8 ticks. Why? Because it starts at top and bottom. So those, and then every one between here. So there's 6 items between, or 6 white space between these 7 bars, plus top and bottom. So it makes a total of 8. So what I want to do, of course, is not give a hard-coded value. So what I'm going to do here is a constant. I'm going to say here, very straightforward, total ticks. Total ticks. And this will be, well, let's say here, I just put in this, but then I'm going to show you here, console log. And let's grab here the scale, more specifically the y scale variable. So if we say y, which is basically the shorthand of everything here, of the object destructuring, save that, refresh, open up developer tab, and there you are. You can see it loads multiple times, so don't worry about that. That's normal because of the animation. Then the next thing what we're going to look for here, scroll down here, the ticks, and you can see here how many ticks we have. Oh, surprisingly, we have 7 ticks. I was expecting 8 ticks. All right, so well, I guess I somehow confused myself on that one. I expected top and bottom as well, but apparently it's not. Well, we can confirm this by just looking here at the grid lines. Maybe I'm referring to grid lines, and maybe that's the reason why it's different than what I expected. If I save this, refresh, alright. Of course, I realize the ticks are these items here. So that's alright. We can just continue on. You might see here these dotted line here. Don't worry about that. I'm going to solve that later on. At least we confirm now there are 7 ticks, not 8 ticks as what I thought. But we do see here the lines. There are 8 lines here because there's up, top and bottom and everything between here. So what we're going to do here is we're going to say here the y. How did I get there? Let's look at this y. Click again on that and go down here. We see ticks. What I'm going to do is, because I want to have it soft coded, I'm going to say ticks.length to get this value. So what I'm going to say here, total ticks, is y.ticks. Well, let's see if it's ticks or tick. It's ticks plural dot length. So this will give us the length of the item. So once we have the length, and we can confirm this by putting this console log in here. Put that in there. Save. Refresh. You can see here 7. Alright, so it recognizes it. The next thing what I want to do is I want to know the height. How many pixels from top to bottom here. And this becomes very, very important because then we can calculate how many lines we need to draw. Or where exactly we need to position the line. The value is basically this height here, which gives us the value from this top to the very bottom of the chart area. So what I'm going to say here, quite simple, constant, we say here height per tick. I'm not sure if this is the right term, maybe it's height per line or something like that. Let's keep it on tick, although it will, well, maybe it will be like that. That's alright. I guess the description doesn't matter so much for now. What I'm going to do is height divided by the y tick length, which is total ticks here. So once I have this, I can grab this, put that in there, save, refresh, and the value will be 50.4. So probably there's this line to that, there will be a difference of 50.4. Of course, let's start to do it visually by drawing it here. So what I want to do here now is we have this set line here. Enter. I'm going to say here the following. I'm going to say ctx.move to, and basically here we need the x and y starting point, which is basically the dot. Where are we going to draw the item? So we want to start at, well, in this case here, or we can start at here up first for now, and then going all the way to there. So what I'm going to do here is, how do we get this? Well, basically we can put it here. If we know that the starting point is here, it's 0, this is really the very, very left side of the entire canvas. So that will mean this will be 0. Once we have that, the next one will be this specific line here, and this line is called the left side of the chart area because it's the official starting point at the left pixel, or basically the position of the left side of the chart area. So I'm going to say here left. Oh, let's see. Oh, sorry. This should be a y variable. So the y variable will be, of course, the item we have calculated, and probably later on we have to just fine tune it a little bit more. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to grab this, put that in here for now, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say here, but then I'm going to say line 2, because basically this here says where are we going to start, and this here is the preparation of drawing from this point to here, and that will be of course here, because if we want to only have a horizontal line, it should start from here going here. So basically we're not moving it vertically, so this is fine, but this one should be left, because that will mean from this 0 point to here, and that is left. Alright, so now we have this. So the next thing what I want to do is to draw it. So I say ctx.stroke to draw the line. Once we did that, the final item what I want to do is ctx.restore to undo whatever we do. Save, refresh. There we are. So now it looks like it, but you might say, oh, hold on, look at the position. The position is quite off. You are correct, because we have to do still a few more items. So let's start to look what we really need to do here. So basically what we need to do here is we need to calculate the top position here as well. So that has an impact on our calculation. So we're going to say here, let's say here top plus height, and then later on we're going to make a formula out of it as well. So we're going to save that, refresh, there we are. So this looks perfect, but now what I want to do is I want to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Basically I want to loop through this. So to loop through this, we're going to create here a simple for loop. So I say for, then the let value equals, let value I equals 0. And then we're going to say I loop through this as many times as total ticks. And we're going to say here not 0, I realize, because I need to skip the very first point here. I want to have from here all the way to there. So what I'm going to do here, this should be number 1, and then eventually we'll stop here, not at the very end. So this is very important. I'm going to say semicolon I plus plus for incremental increase, and then here put that all in there. And then what I want to do here is we have to multiply this by I. So let's see how this will look. Save, refresh, there we are. So you might see here, if you look very carefully, you see this dotted line here. So what I need to do is I need to remove this. To do that, and this is the only thing I can explain, but this is the only way how the situation works, is by removing all of this here, saying that there's no more dotted line. You can see here the dotted line disappears there, but only has it here. Alright, so now we have the first one, and maybe we're going to do here just above. What I want to do here is the lines up and down. And let's give this a very simple item here. We're going to say here, well, basically you're going to copy this, and I'm going to make this black on purpose. These are unique. So I'm going to say here this will be black, so this will be 0, 0, 0. Alright, so that will be a black dark line. Then what I want to do, this will not be a dashed line. So what we're going to do here is basically the same item. I'm going to copy this part, just put that in there. And then all I want to do here is to define the very starting point from here all the way to there. Luckily this is easier, because this upper line here, this is the very top of the chart area, which we have defined here. So that is this one. So I'm going to remove all of these formulas here, no need for this. And all I want to do is I want to start at 0, which is the very beginning of the canvas, to the very right side of the chart area, so that is just defined as right. So if I save that, oh, make sure you type that correctly, save, refresh. There we are. So now we have that. Of course, what I want to do is I want to do it twice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a quick function. I'll call it top bottom line. And what this consists of is basically an x begin, and then we have the x, oh sorry, let's make this y beginning, then we have the x end, and then we have the y end. And the difference is basically those should be all in here, but what I'm going to do is first I'm going to copy all of this, put that in here, copy this, put it in here, just like this. So that makes it very easy. That's why I did the same order. Alright, so once we did this, I'm going to remove this, put this in the beginning here, and then here we have the ending point. Alright, curly braces here, cut this out, put that in there, and then what really happens now is we create our own function that will be triggered here. Save this, refresh. You see nothing truly happens here, but behind the scenes we have did a lot of adjustments, because now we can just copy this, put another one here, and let's say here instead of top I'm going to define bottom. Save that, and here as well bottom, save, refresh. Now we have a top black line and a bottom dark line or black line. Beautiful. So now this works quite nicely, and we could do even one from there to there. Let's do that one as well, so we have them all covered. So I'm going to say this. I'm going to say here 0. Well, probably this will not be 0, but this will be left, bottom, and this will be top, and it will be right bottom. I guess it should be just left. The reason why is we are in this position, and then we just go down only. So this will be a top left, going down here, just the bottom left. We will not move any of our line to the left or right, or else we get a diagonal line. So I don't want that. I just want a simple straight line. There we are. So now we have this all nicely covered. What we can do next is probably working on the labels here, where you can put the nice text. So what I'm going to do here, we have the dotted line. I guess we can put a semicolon here, and for this function a semicolon. Enter, enter. And then what I want to do here is the labels. I'm going to say / labels, and we hide the labels on the y-axis, but we're going to put it in as a drawing here. So for this, I'm going to use a trick here that I need to trigger the data in the object destructuring. So we have a nice shorthand for that. So then what I'm going to do here is the following. We're going to say here in the labels, we're going to do a for each loop, because we have the data now. In the data, this data will directly reference to this point here, data to labels. And this labels here defines how many bars we basically have, because these here should be all aligned with each other. So we're going to say here dot data, and then we say dot, and then we're going to say here labels, because I want to grab the labels, and then we're going to say for each. And what we want to do is we're going to loop through all of these values. So then I'm going to say here, so for every label, comma, and then I also need the index, we're going to make a callback functionality. We're going to use an arrow function expression, enter, and then in here, what do I want is basically have the text. So we have a few items here. First of all, what we want to do is the font design. So we're going to say Ctx Dot Font equals string value 12 pixels, and then we're going to use the default Chartjs fonts family is sans serif, and 12 pixels is the default font number. So the next thing what I want to do here is to put in the color. So I'm going to say Ctx Dot Fill Style equals, and then we're going to say here the official color is RGBA, and I would say 102, 102, 102, and I say comma 1. So that's a nice solid gray color. And then the next one I want to do is the Ctx Dot Fill Text, and the fill text here consists of whatever the text is, comma, and then we have here the X value and the Y value. So what do I need here? Well, basically this label here loops through every item of this. So that will already mean that that is basically the text that I need. The next thing what I want to do here is figuring out where do we position it on the left side. Well, at the very beginning here we say 0. So we're going to say here 0. And then here, then the final one is basically the Y value, and the Y value would be the height, and that will be based on whatever the index value is of this. And for that, we can use a nice command. We're going to say Y, because we have here the Y scale that we have. So we're going to say Y dot, and I'm going to use a Chartjs built-in functionality, which is get pixel for value, and this value will be based on whatever the index is. So if I save this, refresh, there we are. So now we get all these values here that look absolutely stunning. So the next thing what I want to do here is basically have here the days, and then we should have on this point here the values being defined. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to call this what is maybe the top text. And what is the top text in this case? Well, very similar to this. And let's see, this is all I guess we're here nicely in the center as well. And if we're not certain about it, or if it's for some reason not in the center, let me just show you another item. Ctx Dot Text baseline, and this baseline will be equal to middle. This is very important if it's not nicely in the center. Oh, as you can see here, it was slightly off. It was slightly a bit higher than expected. So now we put it truly in the center. So this is the center, or at least the center on that baseline. So then what I'm going to do is we can probably copy a lot of this information here. Let's copy all of this. Then I'm going to scroll down a bit, put that in there. But then I will say here, I want to make this bold. So I'm going to say bold or bolder. You can use multiple things, but bolder is apparently has more pixels compared to bold. So, well, that makes sense. So next what I want to do is I want to make this black. So that will be the exception. So 000. Then review the baseline, and then let's see here, what is the position here? Well, in this case, this will be not label, and so it's not in this functionality. And let's say here, days. So I'm going to just put in here days. And it will be 0 because it will start here. But then what I want to do is I want to be basically here up. So how to be here up? Well, this is the top line. So we have to push it a little bit higher than the existing top line. Let's say your top first. Save, refresh, and as you can see here, what we could do here is just say here, top minus, let's say 15 pixels. If you do this, then we get a quite decent position on this, and I like the results on this. So this is a quite acceptable item. So now we have this here. So the next thing what I want to do, of course, is because we also need another one here that would define the value of this. So for that, you can guess that we're going to make it just a simple function out of this. So we're going to say a function, and let's call this our top text. And let's cut this, put that in there. Oh, put that nicely in there. Semicolon. Say top text, and what we're going to do here is basically, I'm going to say here the text, whatever the text would be. Next what we want is the x value and the y value, which is basically this here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this, paste that in there, cut this out or copy that, put it in here, and copy this part and replace the items below here. So now we have the first one. If I save that, of course, you see nothing truly happens. It stays the same. So now what I can do is, because so we don't have to duplicate the code so much, we can just use this. And we can say here values. And these values will be this, but this here is 0, which is defining this position here. But what I want to do is I want to go and move here. So I'm going to say here left for the chart area. So if I save that, there we are. If you want to have this a little bit more indented, we could say here left plus 5, for example. Save, refresh, and there we are, like that. If ever you want that. Not necessary, just an option to consider. Alright, just ignore that one. Save that again, there we are. So now we have this, and we're not done yet, because what we need to do here is one of the final items, and then I will cover this one as well. So this is almost the final item, is putting this 18. So let's say we have 18%. I want to show it here. To do that, I need to use the specific data labels chart or Chartjs data labels plugin. So I'm going to go to ecosystem here. Once you're here, scroll down, and then going to look for the data labels plugin. Let's see, Chartjs data labels. And plugins, it should be in plugin, so I don't know if I'm just, there we are, sorry, I didn't pay attention on it. So if I'm going to scroll down here, then what I would like to do here is I want to get, let's get the getting started part. Then we are moving to this, and then you get here the exact version or the latest version. They recommend the exact version to put in, because if ever there would be any changes, it would avoid any mistakes. So I'm going to just copy this one here. Latest version right now is 2.0.0. Copy that, scroll up and just put that after the Chart.js library. This needs to load first before we do this, because this has dependencies that is in here. So that makes sense. So then refresh. We didn't activate it yet. So what we're going to do here, in the plugins, I'm going to say a comma, I'm going to say chart, exactly in this way with the capital C, data, capital D, labels to activate the plugin. Refresh, there we are. So now we have this here, but I want this item to go at the very end. So what I'm going to do here, in the plugins, I'm going to activate some plugin options. So I'm going to say here, data labels as the object name. And then within here, what I can say here is the first thing is the anchor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say anchor. We will put this now to the end. Save, refresh. So now it's positioned slightly to the end, but of course it's still just in the between there, which looks a bit weird. So the next thing what I want to do here is I'm going to say align end. Save that, refresh. Now you can see here, but what I would like to do is just to give it additional pixels here. So I'm going to say here comma, and then what I'm going to say here offset, and say here 5 pixels, or let's say 6 pixels in offset. Save, refresh, there we are. That looks absolutely phenomenal, so that looks much, much better. So now we have this, but you might say, hold on, where's the percentage and where's the decimals? Alright, let's focus on that one right now. Comma here, I'm going to say formatter. And the formatter allows us, it's a basic callback functionality, and this allows us to control how we display our item. So what I'm going to say here, value, comma, context, and I'm going to put in here a function arrow expression. So with this formatter, we can now say a different way of returning. So to understand what I mean, or what I mean by returning, is basically returning the value in a different structure. If I save this, refresh, open up developer tab, you can see here, this is basically the formatter being shown at 167, which is correct here. So this here gives us the value itself. So what I'm going to do now is, I'm going to say here return, but what I'm going to do here is, I'm going to modify this. I'm going to say dot, and say 2 fixed 2 decimals. Save, refresh. As you can see here, that looks much, much better. Now the percentage, so what I'm going to do here is quite simple. Backtick to use here template literals. Then I'm going to use here $, and I use this because that's an easier way of concatenation. And then I'm going to say here, you can do space percentage, or just put a percentage here for the percentage symbol. Save, refresh, let's open it, there we are. Alright, so now we've got most of it, and the only thing maybe here you would not be satisfied with this font, this item here. Alright, so let me show you how we will do that. First of all, I need to go to the title here. I'm going to remove this. This here created our additional space that we will lose right now. So if I save this, refresh, you can see here now what is happening is the text is going up. It's there, but it's going up beyond our canvas area. So what I'm going to do is scroll up here, and I'm going to say comma, let's say here top. Maybe we need here 20 pixels, I'm not sure yet, I think probably more than 50. Or let's say 50 pixels, we'll put that in there. There we are. Alright, so now we have enough space here for the center for a proper text. What I will do it, I will do it just like this structure, except we have some unique items on here. So I'm just going to copy most of this, and we just put it in there and give this a unique title. Alright, so we're going to grab this. We can say here bolder, that's fine. I'm going to maintain this. Maybe this one, I'll give it 15 pixels. Baseline middle. And the text, what can we give as text? Maybe we could get, where is that? This label here. So how do we do there? Or how do we get there? Sorry. How do we get there? We get the data sets, index 0, then label. So what I'm going to do here, where are you? I think slightly up. This is the place, the text here. I'm going to say data sets index 0 dot label, and now we have the x and y value. And well, basically what the x and y value is here, what we need to have is the right side. This right side divide by 2 will give us the center on this one. So we say right divide by 2 will give us the center position of the font. And next here we have the y value, and the y value should be how many pixels from the top. I think we probably have to do maybe 15 pixels or something like that. Well, let's do, if you do 0, it will be very top, but you will see it might cut off. So it will clip off. There you are, as you can see here. And the reason why it's 0, but it's center. What we could do here, I guess we could do just a simple trick, is to say here baseline middle. No, I'm going to say baseline top. Save, refresh. There we are. And I guess this should be already more than welcome and quite suitable for our chart. And this is basically the way how you can customize this unique large scale chart in Chart.js. So if you enjoyed this video and maybe you want to go even deeper by, for example, making clickable bars, which is absolutely phenomenal as well, in that case, I'm going to recommend you this video here on how to create clickable bar chart with link in Chart.js.